Hey everyone, Coach and Hoke Athletes, H. Kennedy here with another Training Talk Tuesday. Coming out on Thursday, I believe it's episode number 35. Thank you so much to all of you that submitted questions for last week's talk. We're going with the top voted one. Hope you're doing well. We're going to dive right in. Top voted question from last week. Hi Sage, could you do a training talk video on the best way to cross-train / how to maintain fitness through injury, etc.? I've been struggling with shin splints and would love to hear your thoughts on what you do regarding maintaining fitness without putting the impact into my shins. Thanks for another great training talk. So, common question, common injury, shin splints, front of the shin, very painful, could lead to something more serious like a stress fracture in the tibia. That shin area is very sensitive, but this will be a general talk on addressing all sorts of cross-training modalities, so to speak, or other activities you could do besides just running to stay fit, hopefully overcome that injury, and still maintain a level of fitness or even build your aerobic fitness with the heart and lung efficiency and blood flow and muscular strength. So, breaking down shin splints, I've done some videos on recovering from that specific injury, especially with tapping the foot. If we're pretend this is my hand is my foot and my forearm here is my shin. If you're tapping and sitting down or tapping like this with full ankle extension with a band, I'll show a demonstration there, or like some of the exercises I was illustrating a couple weeks ago for knees over toes guy, that's really good for shin splint or building up the strength of the tibialis anterior, that type of muscle and the sheath around there. Shin splints could be caused by a lot of different things, from improper running form, improper footwear, not appropriate shoes for your running form, but also just running a lot more on pavement than you're used to, increasing your mileage, running up and down hills, slapping your foot too much. So the important thing, I think, with looking at injuries and then cross-training to overcome the injuries and the healing is that your first step is usually rest, right? That's usually the first step of the process, no matter what type of pain or injury you have. Now, it does depend what type of pain or injury you have and what caused it. After that initial rest period, right? The inflammation goes down, things might be feeling good because you're not running, you're just sitting on the couch or something, relaxing, eating ice cream, drinking beer. But, if you started running again, the pain might just come right back. So if you're not addressing the underlying cause, be it a muscle imbalance or weakness, some sort of, stress from your running form, increasing your training too fast or running in improper shoes, something like that, then the injury is going to come back, or the injury is just going to manifest itself into another type of injury because you have this muscle imbalances, throws off your hip and low back, maybe then it throws off your ankle or something like that because you're wobbling around and you don't have the stability that you need. So when you take a rest break and you're trying to recover from an injury, the key to the puzzle, and it is hard, sometimes you have to consult professionals, right? Physical therapists, doctors, chiropractors. Sometimes you need some technology, you need some imaging scans, be it an X-ray or even an MRI or something like that. Because if you have a bone break or you have a major inflammation in a tendon or something, sometimes it's hard to pinpoint where that pain's coming from. There's a lot of nerve endings in all up and down the body, and sometimes the pain isn't where the problem is, so to speak. And some of this could be genetic, right? You could have low bone density, could be lifestyle stress related with poor diet, not enough sleep, not enough recovery, or you're just doing too much, running too soon, and your body can't handle it at the time. So we call that an overtraining injury, which is probably the most common, repetitive strain. And so one thing we can do with the cross-training, the major thing is doing activities that are not as much impact force, right? You're running up and down, you got a lot of gravitational impact force, right? Your body weight, 2 or 3 times your body weight with each step coming down. It's very jarring. It's a tough sport. And you're pounding the pavement, you're running on asphalt, pavement, maybe you're increasing your mileage, you're trying to get in speed work, long runs. It's a lot of stress on the body. It's a lot of stress. There's a lot of impact force with the gravitational force. You throw hills in the mix, downhill running. So when we rest, we want to rest the joints. We want to get into activities that have less gravitational impact force. So things like cycling. A lot of runners translate well to cycling. Could be road or mountain bike. I would be more likely to hurt myself on a mountain bike, so I do road. But you might not live in an area that's good for that, or it might be too much traffic, or you don't have a bike. So then you could do other things. Maybe you like swimming, right? Swimming could be great activities. I'm really bad at it, but you're floating in the water. It's very therapeutic. Using your arms and legs, core muscles, you could really get your heart rate up. Other things, uphill skiing, all sorts of different activities you could do. Elliptical, gym machines, right? A stationary bike. If you have access to a gym, that could be a real great tool as well. So there's all these different activities you could do that don't have the gravitational force, don't have the same muscle movement patterns of running that could let your injury heal while you're still increasing your heart rate quite a bit. You're still getting in the cardiovascular system benefits, right? You work up a sweat, you're breathing hard, you're getting good blood flow to the muscles. Cycling, you're still working the leg muscles pretty hard. You are working them in a different way, and that's gonna be how I end my talk, is how they're not gonna totally replace your running training. So, you're changing things up, you're overcoming your injury, or you just wanna mix things up mentally or physically throughout the course of the year. It's great to do these other activities, especially things like cycling and swimming, lower impact. Pro runners, advanced runners, they have their anti-gravity treadmills, basically running in a bubble over the treadmill. You could reduce your body weight, less gravitational force. But even doing an elliptical or power hiking uphill or skiing uphill, you could get in a great cardiovascular workout without that impact force. So how you do it really depends on the specific person, where you're coming from. If you just want to maintain fitness, if you're getting your heart rate up and you're breathing hard, you're doing something productive, right? You're not totally losing your fitness. So it's not, it's not a total loss if you have to take some time off from running, be it days or weeks or even months, because you can do these other activities. And if they're not triggering that pain and they're not making your shin splints worse or your tendonitis worse in a certain area, then you could definitely keep doing them and stay pretty fit, right? The heart and lungs don't know what activity you're doing. If you have fitness, you have fitness. This issue that you have to be careful with is when you return to running and the gravitational impact force, that injury could flare up real quick because you are still in good shape. You still aren't breathing super hard when you run. I know a lot of pro cyclists that are in really good shape from cycling, and then they start running and they get injured, especially knee problems. Well, it's because they're in such great shape. They're is that our laundry? Laundry's done. They're in such great shape with their heart and lung fitness that they're able to run really fast right out the door. But their body's not used to the impact force of an activity like running versus cycling. Even though they have super strong legs, super strong quads from cycling, it's totally different. You're in a seated position, you don't have that gravitational impact force. So you do have to be careful, and it is a tricky thing. Even if you're 100% healthy and you're training all the time, a lot of pros will take one easy day off a week or one cross-training day a week and do some other activity. Pro mountain ultra trail runners, Killian Jornet, they translate through the seasons with mixing in cycling a lot of times, a couple days a week, or a month out of the year. Or they have a whole ski season all winter where they're not pounding the pavement, they're skiing up and down mountains at high altitude, and they're not getting an impact force. Could hurt yourself very bad on the skis though, I will say. I'm trying to see if I answered this question specifically. The best way to cross-train, do non-impact force activities. If it gets boring on the stationary bike, mix in some intervals. The Zwift is a great way on a stationary bike, especially to get motivated, to do some high-intensity intervals. You don't have to go super hard, but if you're riding your bike uphill, or you're doing some threshold work, or you're doing 5-minute surges at a certain wattage on the bike, where you're swimming, where you're doing some fast 400-meter repeats in the pool, or even on the elliptical, you're doing these other activities, do some interval training. It doesn't have to be super high-intensity HIIT interval training, but it could be more than just steady and slow, because on the bike you would have to ride a lot more kilometers or miles than if you were running, right? It's not a direct translation. So yes, you could lose a little bit of running specific fitness doing these other activities. It wouldn't be something that I'd say, okay, you could reach your full potential in running doing cross training 4 times a week. Probably not, but if it keeps you healthy, that's really the most important thing, mentally and physically. And like I said, it really does depend on the specific injury, because if you don't treat the underlying cause with specific neuromuscular training, whether that's strength training in the gym, doing specific drills, doing specific mobility and stretching to address the certain injury that you have, it's going to either come back in the future maybe, or come back as another type of injury in the future, or it's just going to hurt your running efficiency and your speed, and it'll keep you from reaching your full potential in running. So it is, I know it's difficult sometimes. I've had to try to still figure out some of my own running hip and back types of stiffness and pain that I've had to do different exercises. But initially I did get the x-rays and the MRIs done and the scans to thoroughly check things out, as well as consulted with multiple doctors and specialists, physical therapists, as well as trying to do lay study here on the YouTube. So I'm not going to lie to you, it can be a difficult thing. Shin splints are very common though. Look at some of the strengthening exercises for sure. Thanks so much for tuning in for this Training Talk Tuesday episode. I want to keep these going. Thanks so much to the Patreon supporters for really making this channel possible. Again, shout out to title sponsor Hoka One, keeping the dream, or it's just Hoka now. Shout out to title sponsor Hoka, keeping the dream alive. More announcements to come. I signed up for a race next year. Also updates for their coaching business, any service, any distance. We sell training plans at higherrunning.com. That's at higherrunning on social media. We have some coaching openings for individualized, personalized coaching. We got 2 great coaches on there who could take some spots for some personalized training with athletes. That's Coach Rachel as well as Coach Laura. Some spots available. Thank you so much for supporting our coaching business at Higher Running. Again, we do training for any surface, any distance, and have a wealth of experience and resources on there, as well as on this YouTube channel. You can check out all my playlists for other running related videos and training. Thanks so much again. Hope you're doing well. Be sure to subscribe on here and like these videos if you like them, and stay tuned for more via 2Max Productions.